How's everybody feeling? You guys had a good day today, I'm sure.
Woo.
Yes, bananas. I keep using the word bananas to describe things. I don't know if that has cultural meaning for folks, but anyways, that's the fruit. That's the fruit for me right now. Bananas are fruit, right? They are fruit. Anyways, um, it's so wonderful to see you all. Welcome back to our closing session for the second day of BioSummit. Um, I don't know about you all, but I was able to check out a bunch of the amazing content earlier, and my gosh, again, just another really kind of mind-blowing afternoon of so much incredible work that you all are doing. So part of what we're going to do over the next 40 minutes is we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping and logistics, but then we're actually going to open it up to the whole community here to share some reflections for the day. This is something that we also typically do at BioSummit when we've got time and when the scheduling works out, and it does tonight. So we're going to have each track actually report back and just share a little bit about what you all learned during your track. And so we'll do this in a very organic fashion. So we'll kind of just I'll announce a track, and then, if some of the co-chairs want to share something, great. But this is really for anybody that was in any of those sessions, can then offer some reflections on what they learned or what they felt or experienced or anything they want to share about that track. And so we'll do that for basically about 7 or 8 minutes for each one. And that'll bring us to our closing. And we've got a very special closing. We have Jennifer Willett, who is going to lead a very special meditation that Carolyn will introduce. So I won't spoil the surprise, but Carolyn, we do need to get objects, right? That is a critical thing people need to do, right?
That is the critical thing people need to do. And they, in fact, need to be alive objects.
Right. So, see, Jennifer's already got her alive
yes,
object.
look at this.
Yeah, I've got mine too that I got to, it's across the room, but that's the other homework assignment that you all have in the next 40 minutes. Yeah, there, Heidi's got one. So make sure you got something living that you can bring with you into your Zoom presence space for our closing meditation together.
It could be as simple as bacteria from your shower.
What about bacteria on your anywhere?
that would work as long as it's commensal. Yes.
You do a houseplant, right?
What was that?
A houseplant.
Absolutely.
Houseplants are alive. They are. Yes, that would qualify. So think about your object or go grab your object. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we go into the reflections for the day. So number one, right after this is over at 8 o'clock, we have our open mic. Okay, so actually, Maria and Kevin, I think you guys are going to be running the open mic. Do we need to do anything for this? Should we? Are we still recruiting people? Do people want to sign up? Is there a process?
What we'll probably do is we want to see how many people show up who are signed up first.
Okay.
Because we do have a set time. If we have extra time, we'll just let people drop in.
We do it safe.
Do we?
Yes. So people can message me or go in the Slack and write what you want to do, how long it's going to take. If you got a short, quick thing, something fun, something creative, whatever, we're open.
Okay.
Yeah, and most people are taking about 4 minutes at most.
Perfect.
So if you're looking for things, and the only thing people really need to do is bring a beverage.
Great. So we have 3 homework assignments. We have 3 homework assignments between now and 7:40, and then at 8 o'clock. Between now and 7:40, find something living to bring into your Zoom presence for those that are just arriving right now, because we're going to do a special meditation at 7:40. By 8 o'clock, we're going to kick off our open mic. If you have not signed up for the open mic, but feel inspired to share something, anything, within a 4 or 5 minute time span, then Maria and Kevin are going to be curating that. There's a bunch of people that have already signed up, but it's an open mic. So the protocol is to find it on Slack. So send us a message, and there's a channel for the party and the open mic. So if you drop it in there, I think some combination of Kevin and Maria will track that and add you to the list. Okay. So that's item number 1. Item number 2, if you're still in the need for some technical amazingness, at 8 p.m., Zappour Workshop is happening. So right after this is over again, some of my students, the MIT team, they're going to be doing a whole workshop on DIY electroporation. It's pretty amazing, actually. They figured out how to hack a fly swatter to make a $10 DNA electroporator. So if you want to learn about that, that's happening at 8 o'clock. And immediately after the open mic, whenever that ends, we are going to shift into our party. Okay, so The other homework assignment is you have to have fun at the party. All right, it's a very difficult homework assignment, but I think everybody here is capable of it. And so we're gonna kick things off with DJ Philip Tan. Philip is DJ'd at BioSummit last year and is amazing. So he's gonna kick us off once the open mic wraps up. I will do a short DJ set as well. But we are both really just openers for our headliner, who is DJ Norosaurus, who, for those of you who were at BioSummit last year, kind of crushed it so hard that like the physical building of the Media Lab is, you know, forever changed after she did her DJ set. So she's going to be amazing. And, you know, bring your beverage, get ready to dance. We've been sitting all day, so we all need some physical exercise. I know I do, so I'm definitely excited to move. And we're all going to do that a little bit later on. So those are a couple of logistical things. One other question for folks: do we still need volunteers for tomorrow? Are we all set with volunteers, Maria and Desiree?
So we could still use a couple of people. I think we're doing okay in a pinch, but it would be nice if we could get a Zoom chat moderator for Chloroplast with Lizzie and a timekeeper for global collaborations. So if not, we can figure it out. But
so if you are all interested in volunteering, there is a volunteer channel on Slack. Please just tap in there if you've got some time tomorrow in the afternoon between 2 to 7 Eastern when we're doing the parallel tracks. Just write your name into the volunteer Slack, and we will get you a role for the afternoon. So thank you so much, Desiree, for helping to pull that together. And then my one other thing, if Justice is here, we wanted to talk a little bit about the proceedings. So Justice, I will turn it over to you to give some quick remarks about that.
Yeah, thanks, David. So as many of you probably are aware, David has been thinking about this over the last few years. And so this year, we've had the critical mass to actually do it. And so what we're planning on doing is archiving and preserving your contributions this year in a very meaningful way. And that is going to be in the form of a published proceedings. And so what I'm pasting in the message board right now is a form we've put together to collect that. And so what you should do is, if you've presented something at this year's BioSummit, either as an individual or as a part of a panel, submit 250 to 350 word abstract. We put some examples up there, or description of what that was. List who was a part of it, that is your co-authors, and then we will, over the next couple of weeks, shape it up, be in touch with you, and put it out for the world to see, for you to share your work with the planet and build on it for next year. If you have any questions, you can reach your track co-organizers, and they can sort of address them, and then we'll go from there. Thanks, David.
And really, Justice, I think you misspoke, because I think the proceedings is really from you. I think you are the one that has really been pushing and driving this. So all credit and shout outs to Justice for really leading the charge on this epic project, which I really think is actually a pretty historic thing. You know, I think one of the big questions for the larger community is, you know, where do we share? Where do we publish this work? And I really feel like these proceedings have the potential to be something that could be pretty historic. It could lead to what could be potentially like a journal that is something that we have as an institutional structure that our community can share insights with the world over time. So I'm personally super, super excited about these proceedings. I hope you all will take the time to, I know right now it's a little crazy because of the BioSummit, but afterwards take a little time to really polish up your contributions, your talks, your panels, your discussions, and contribute them in a way that really could be memorialized and will be something that's referenceable. That's something that we can all point to say, hey, this conversation happened here, this talk happened here, and you know, can be really something that is for posterity. So really shout outs to Justice, Amanda, the entire proceedings team that's been working on building this out, and I really think it's going to be super awesome. So thanks so much to you guys for your leadership. And so now let us, unless there's anything else, does anybody else have any quick announcements or kind of logistical things before we shift into reflections for the day? I think those are the big things that I've got. Organizers, am I missing anything? Anybody want to have an additional thought? If not, then what I would love to do now is shift into some reflections on the crazy epic day today. So you've all, for the past 5 hours, have been in different parallel universes. I've had the lucky fortune of being able to kind of be somehow sitting in all 5 of them and being able to zoom out in my screen and take little movies of like all 5 groups like in action, and it's been pretty magnificent to watch. What we should do now, though, what I'd love to do now is basically go track by track and have folks that were in each of these tracks just talk a little bit about what happened. So actually, if I could get some impromptu timekeeping help, that'd be great. Actually, I can probably do this myself. I just want to make sure we've got time for everybody, because we've got about 30 minutes and how many tracks? 5 tracks with the workshops, so about 5 minutes per track. So why don't we start with open innovation? So I'll let Chaz and Isis potentially give remarks, but really anybody that was in the open innovation session, feel free to just directly unmute yourself, or actually raise your hand and then I'll call on you to unmute yourself. You will be able to unmute yourself. Who would like to share some reflections on open innovation?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Chaz. I was one of the co-organizers of the Open Innovation track this year, and I gotta say I'm just like blown away by all of the talks and panels and breakout sessions that we had today. I mean, I had a little bit of background in this area of open innovation, and just to like see what everyone is working on and what people are thinking about just like really excited me. It blew my mind. I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to go to sleep tonight because I want to do so much research into what everyone is doing. But some of the participants are here, and if anyone else would like to talk about their own experience, please do share.
Chaz, really quickly, what were like a couple highlights for you? Like just pick like one to 3 highlights, things that blew your mind.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of talk about space, and I love space. So, I mean, all of the talks, we just finished, and it was going a little bit late, so some of our participants might not be here, but the biohacking in space, and then the last minute we were able to get this really great panel with Nicolas Fuentes and others. So I really love that. You know, Pat at the Media Lab had this really great chat about just like everything, biosensing. I'm still blown away. And yeah, I mean, the lightning talks are all fascinating. Just too much. I'm still
I know, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. That was what I said earlier today. I wrote a note to myself: BioSummit, overwhelming you with awesomeness. I thought that was a pretty good tagline. Anybody else from Open Innovation want to share a thought about what they observed or experienced? Anyone else? Derek, you want to offer a thought? I think you were there for the whole afternoon.
I was. It was a great afternoon. I also have just a long laundry list of frugal science bits that are thrilling me. Cleaning protocol for cuvettes, mirror prep to get extra yield out of mini preps. It was just a really good afternoon. Lots of links and lots of great speakers. Okay.
If Isis is there, Isis, do you want to share anything about open innovation and what you guys saw today?
Yes. I think it was really overwhelming, as you said, and I think that it was amazing how things were interconnected. That, you know, it seems that when you look at the program, it seems that they were so different from each other, like biotech in space and, you know, open labs and etc. But when you put it together as a track, everything flew, like it flows really well, and I was truly amazing of everything that I learned. I was compiling all the links. Later I'll share with all of you the links that I compiled in the big document. And well, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for having been a part of that today.
Very cool. And was there a particular highlight that you want to call out? Like something that you saw that really excited you? Yeah, go ahead.
I really love it to know better the work of Pat. That it was really, you know, it's groundbreaking. It mixes transhumanism with life in space, with biotech. It's super futuristic. I think that, to me, Pat was a highlight today.
Can you say a little bit more about what about his work, like what Pat did, what he showed?
I liked the interactions. Oh, for the people that of course, I'm sorry, not everybody was in the same track today, but Pat was explaining about wearable biotech, and in several different layers. For instance, one of the things that he showed was a personal bioreactor that would be attached to your body. He also talked about a little bit about implants. He talked about the integration in a cellular level between those implants and these materials. He talked about augmentation. He talked about using AI to create different personalities, and talked into those personalities with this project of him where he developed these twins that with different characteristics. So it was super interesting. It was biotech, augmentation, transhumanism, futurism, all at the same time.
Yeah. So Pat, one of the framing concept he's been using is called wearable biotech. And so for a little history for everybody here, actually, Pat has been to all 4 biosummits. My first time meeting Pat was at Biosummit #1. He came from Thailand representing Freak Lab, and that was also his first time at the Media Lab. So Pat's journey to becoming a Media Lab grad student was through the Biosummit, actually. And that's actually true, I think, of Sebastian too, who also was at Sound Bio and came the first year also at Biosummit. So anyways, it's been amazing just watching Pat's journey, and also the different dinosaur costumes he has each year, which he lamented this year not having a dinosaur costume for. So anyways.
If we haven't mentioned, the Biosummit logo is Pat.
Yes. Thank you for saying that, Maria. Yes, the Biosummit logo is Pat. And I made this comment in the open innovation track earlier, but literally you could spend like an hour, like hours, just like staring at it. Just like look at all of the stuff in there. It's so thoughtful and beautiful. And Pat has designed the Biosummit logo every single year except for the first year. And Pat also, as is being pointed out in the chat, designed every object in the store, which, by the way, if you still have not checked out the store, there's like a Biosummit clock. There's Biosummit, like 3 different types of hats, t-shirts, hoodies. I mean, Pat built all of it. So Pat, just so much love to you. You are amazing. Okay, so let's move on to the next track. Let's talk about bioart and design. So for those of you that were in the bioart and design track, does somebody want to share some reflections about what you all saw, learned, or experienced? And we can start potentially with Carolyn and Heidi, but we can also open it up with to Carolina and anybody else that wants to speak.
Yeah, we can have various people talk about it. I'd say bioart and design was all about organisms this year, and trying to kind of shift the focus from us as makers to organisms as beings and the philosophy behind that, and to look a little bit at where we are at this moment in a state of crisis from the perspective of non-human entities. So we started the track with some very philosophical kind of ideas about that, and had some real phenomenal speakers from a variety of humanities backgrounds look at it. And we looked at topics such as reworlding. We looked about creating communities of care. And then as we moved through the day, we did some about residencies and what it takes to get scientists and artists to come together. And we had some wonderful presentations by some of the biofellows utilizing some of the methods that Abel has taught us in terms of very specifically identifying tasks to do. And then from there, Roland did some beautiful stuff on viral art, and we heard from the biobabes and with algae, and then we got into some really great biomaterial panels and looked at the nature of controlling organisms. But that's Heidi's bit, so I want Heidi to talk about that.
Thank you, Caroline. I thought that the whole day was amazing. I was taped for the Zoom, so I was able to be in all of the talks that we had today. And it was really interesting just to see how we're really thinking, and I think it was stuff that was said at the plenary sessions. Margarita Mora about talking about the communities that already have that knowledge about working with the organisms that are more like in touch with knowing it. About Drew Andy telling this thing about we're so towards consumer director, and we have to be more doers. And I think the panels that we talked today, we were really touching on those topics, and also putting the focus on the process and not so much of the outcome, and being in this learning curve where we're understanding have the humility that we need to have in order to work with organisms. And as Caroline was saying, their own agency, and how are we working in this collaboration instead of just dominating in a way the process. So I think that's more into that, and it's been amazing. I'm overwhelmed as well.
That's so wonderful. Are there others from the track that want to share some thoughts? And it could be anybody that was just in any of the sessions. Please either raise your hands or just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, somebody from the Bio Babes, talk to us.
Oh, I think LD. Yeah, go ahead, LD. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think something part of the takeaways I can share is that the talks just made me, especially the last talk we had from Orkan, that just made me think that just to see different ways of doing biodesign, different from probably the way we were doing it. Like I spent the last two years doing biodesign in like just in a certain way, but now it's like just seeing and questioning. It's like, is that the only way to do biodesign? It's like there are more ways we should explore. Like instead of thinking the relationships that we are trying to create with the organisms we're using right now, it's like, is that the best way? It's like we need to look for alternatives. And I think something that he also mentioned was the topic of accessibility and the perspective that most of us have regarding that accessibility. And like accessibility is not only about like having access to technology and information, but also like having knowledge of what's around us, which sources and natural resources we have around, and we can make those accessible to the community to use. Like if we are, yeah, just sharing that knowledge with our community for them to use that. That was just great. I think I'm still processing a lot of questions in my head. So.
No, I think we're all in a similar state. It's hard to like put into words when you get this avalanche of stuff for like many hours. And it's like, what did you learn? It's really hard to say.
I think I'm up since 4 a.m. because I'm in California, and I think that everything I wanted to attend the insulation panel workshop, and it was 4 a.m. So I'm just, yeah, overwhelmed as well.
BioSummit, overwhelmed. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we move on to the next track? Thank you all so much for sharing. Let's do biosafety, security, and ethics. So I'll let Alex start, but then yeah, let's open it up and hear their thoughts as well. Alex, go for it.
Hey, yes, wow, overwhelmed is definitely the word of this track. I think that everyone in there today was like absolute rock star, especially because we had two back-to-back 90-minute breakout sessions. So it was a 3-hour long sort of marathon of the biosafety handbook, followed by a discussion about responsible disclosure and potentially an IRB. And so like there was so much conversation and so many amazing ideas. And also I think, one of the most key things about this afternoon, and I definitely want to just say this and then open it up, was that both of those projects, as well as all the talks that came after, just continues to showcase how this community is so focused on safety and ethics. That is a totally new framework and a totally new framing of how those things have existed in traditional science. And the way that this community thinks about ethics, thinks about framing it, thinks about what the issues are, just shows the creativity and the insistence on support and holding each other up and helping each other be the best scientists, the best educators, the best learners, the best creatives, the best innovators that they can be in a way that not only is safe and ethical for humans, but also for the environment, for marginalized groups, for everyone. And so I just think I'm just super overwhelmed by the work and the discussions that happened in that track today. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who participated. So I thought it was great. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. Are there others that were part of that track today that want to share? You can raise your hands and I can call on you, or you can just unmute yourselves. Yeah, Maria, go for it.
Yeah, I want to say, you know, I lurked in that track, occasionally interjecting most of the afternoon. But I think that what really hit me is that it ties back in a lot to questions of who we are, how do we do governance, how do we curate this knowledge that we have? And it really centered around a lot of these things that we're discussing and we've, you know, brought about. But it didn't happen because we curated BioSummit that way. It happened because these conversations were already happening, and these discussions and this movement in our movement to figuring out how do we create, whether we call it governance, whether we call it guidance, how do we handle and respectfully maintain materials like the bio handbook that came up. And just because you didn't come to the session doesn't mean you can't be a part of those conversations. It's the exact opposite. You should, you know, go ahead, and if you were part of these conversations in some tracks, make sure you're letting people who weren't there know about them. So that's part of the BioSummit ethics ethos that we're doing in Mini here, is share the knowledge around. We all go to a little bit of some of the sessions so then we can share with each other that knowledge around.
And so just to say as well, this is one of the great things that the Slack can be very useful for. So please continue the conversations there. And I had a question from one of the participants about what we're doing with the Slack. And the Slack, the whole reason we spent a bunch of time kind of cleaning it up and setting this up this way is so that we can continue using it after the BioSummit. This will be infrastructure. It'll be infrastructure so we can all stay connected, all continue to work, and so on. So just please be mindful that this is just the start. This is not the beginning, and that we're all here to continue learning from each other. So that's great. I think we've got time for one other thought or reflection from biosafety and security. If anybody else wants to chime in, if there's a participant that was there that would like to share a thought or a reflection. I can offer one quick one that was connected. I think I just thought the morning was so. You know, my news talk was its own kind of epicness, but I thought that just the framing of, you know, safety with the handbook and then the IRB and then into Kevin's comments about how communities can mitigate risk. Man, I just felt it, you know, what all three of those things were for me were fundamentally about agency, about the fact that we as communities, we are the ones that should be stepping up and are stepping up to actually take leadership roles in defining these things for ourselves, which again is so connected to, you know, what BioSummit is all about fundamentally and what this larger movement is about. And so I thought it was really powerful to see those three particular talks connected in with, again, I think all of the exercises that happen later on in the day. So, so really just appreciate all of you for your contributions there. All right, so why don't we move on next to Guardianship of Ecosystems. So I'll turn it over to Kristen and Sebastian to give some thoughts first, and then we'll open it up again to anybody that would like to share.
Yeah, excited to share. Hi, everybody. Clark is also very excited. This is my alive thing. This is Clark. So, yeah, I'm, you know, I don't even know. I don't know if overwhelmed is the word for me. I mean, I think I'm just like, I'm very full, and maybe a little overflowing with just the amount of, you know, guardianship of ecosystems, I think feels a lot to me like sort of the soft, squishy center of BioSummit in a lot of ways, because we really get, you know, we really went on a journey talking about, you know, I think he's leaving us. Indigenous perspectives on, okay, go ahead. Indigenous perspectives on guardianship. I really, you know, at one point was moved to tears by some of the words that Margarita and Tiwa particularly were sharing with us, and then hearing about, you know, moves by Miley and Hugo to set up a botanical garden in Ecuador, and learning about the Andean bear from Mary and soil microbes from Craig. I mean, it was just all of it tied in together so beautifully. And I think the thread that was pulled throughout from the very beginning, from Margarita's talk all the way to the end, when we were having conversations about, you know, David, you brought up very good points about consumerism, and Chris brought up, again, very good points about leading with the heart. I mean, I think that's the thread that went all the way through Guardianship of Ecosystems for me, was leading with heart, leading with community, finding ways to reconnect to the earth and to the places where we are and to the people around us and our local communities, and, you know, thinking a little smaller and a little closer to home in order to be able to think bigger and really bring this huge community and all these pieces together to work together to create a brighter and better future. And so I loved everything about it. It was so good.
Awesome, Kristen. Sebastian, do you want to share some quick reflections?
Sure, happy to. I mean, I want to echo that it was just a very powerful, powerful track. And, you know, I think one of the things that I really took away from this, starting from Margarita's talk in the morning to this really like lively discussion we had at our ending breakout sessions, was just the role that our culture has created in affecting our ecosystems, and how we kind of develop tools and learn things about our natural ecosystems and interact with them in a different way than we have as consumers in a capitalist mindset. So for me, I mean, it was interesting seeing it at all different stages, both from like ecological monitoring to some really fascinating work being done by some groups in studying, say, bears or gardens in Ecuador, to the really nitty-gritty science of how soil functions as sort of the foundation for vegetation for life, to, you know, what we can use in terms of biomaterials. There was a really neat kind of dialogue that happened between Fraser, who was giving a breakout session on eco-materials, and the concurrent discussion that was happening in the chat, where people were saying, oh, well, you know, Fraser was talking about how he would modify kombucha to make it, or mycelium to work better for different applications. And in the chat, people were saying, oh, I've done it this way too, I can give you a tip on this. And it was just really great to be in a kind of community and environment where that was just coming together so nicely.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. Are there other folks that want to share any reflections from Guardianship of Ecosystems? We can do one more quick reflection before we shift to workshops.
I can have a quick one.
Yeah, Thelma, go for it.
Yay! I love it, the fact that, for example, some members of the Indigenous community came and showed us some videos, and they had like excellent production. So you can actually see like the landscapes and all the people and how they dress normally. And that's awesome. I mean, you can totally get to know their context. And one strong point from them is that sometimes we believe that they are against technology and all that, but that's not true. They say they are totally open, but nobody has came like to explain all the good side of technology. And sometimes they just see like pollution in the water and all that. So they are just trying to bond with the rest of the community, of the country, to let them know that they are just looking like to all the pollution. So they want really to understand, but nobody comes to talk to them. So that's a real problem they have, and that's really, I mean, it's awesome to know and to give them spaces to say that. And we have a session where one of the members of one of the communities was speaking in Spanish, and it was like instantly translated. So I think it was awesome because it's about all inclusion. So that's really the spirit of BioSummit. And yeah, that's it. It was nice.
Yay, thank you so much, Thelma. That was a wonderful recap. I'm seeing Anne from the GIY BioBuddy saying, not overwhelmed, but oversaturated with BioSummit awesomeness. That's a nice reframe. All right, so let's wrap up our reflections with workshops. And I know, again, there were so many crazy, awesome workshops. I don't know if Barry is here. Barry, are you here? I don't see Berenice here. So, or actually if Patrick is here too, we can open it up and have some folks talk about workshops. Patrick, do you want to talk a little bit about what you saw in workshops today?
Yeah, lots of cool stuff happening in workshops. I didn't see all of them because I was in the biosafety handbook discussion for a while as well. Corinne's workshop on Fluidics, really a highlight. She does some awesome work. For those of you that are doing like workshops over Zoom and things like that, she had rigged up this cool little tiny mirror on her camera for her laptop. So she could do like an overhead view using her laptop keyboard as the working platform. So cool tip.
Are there other, Patrick, anything else you want to share? Should we open it up and see who else wants to?
Yeah, let's open it up to, somebody was talking about yeastograms early in the morning. I would love to hear more about that one.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeastograms was one of our European time workshops. Anybody was in yeastograms? But we can really open it up to anybody that wants to say anything about workshops. Please go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I was at the Instagrams workshop and I had to wake up like super early, but it was all worth it. It was super cool. We developed the stencils together so the participants could send images and then Günther transformed them into like stamps to glue on the Petri dishes. And I said there that now my face is currently being printed on a Petri dish because the Petri dishes are suffering the action of UV light. So the print is happening now, and I guess that tomorrow we will have the photos. So Günther will be returning to us the pictures, and it would be really cool if we could share with you all the results because it was really overwhelming. Like I'm in Brazil, and to know that my face is being printed on the other side of the world is super cool, super exciting.
That is
so this was our
awesome.
only 3-hour workshop. I think he asked for 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and we said, sure.
So when you guys get that, you should definitely share that all on the Slack. Please post that in the Slack. You can post that in the general channel so we can all see it. But that sounds super incredible. Thank you so much. Any other reflections from any of the workshops that have happened? I guess it could be any workshops that happened yesterday too, because we didn't have a chance to really debrief the workshops yesterday.
I had fun doing COVID chat with Patrick. And we just want to remind people, if you enjoyed it, you can join us. We do it. We've done it for the last 29 Saturdays, every Saturday, that time slot every week. Open to the world.
This is one of the best things you can do during pandemic because, you know, we're all obsessed by this thing anyway. And sharing resources is what we're all about.
Beautiful. Are there any other reflections about workshops? Again, you can just unmute yourself directly and speak if you would like. If nobody else wants to share, which is totally fine. I know it's been a very, very long day. I thought what I would do is try to offer like a little bit of a synthesis of what I saw today. I was kind of taking notes as the talks were going on, and I highlighted a few things for myself that really kind of stood out as we were going. So, all right, like it feels like Manu's talk felt like an eternity ago. It felt like a lifetime ago. But if you all remember, you know, Manu opened the day with, I thought it was one of the best talks I've just ever seen. And again, you know, for me personally too, just having known Manu for so long, it just blows my mind what he's doing and how the scale at which he's doing it and the thoughtfulness of which he's doing it, not only developing the technologies themselves, but how engaged he is at the local level, working with folks on the ground and really thinking very deeply about that community engagement. A couple of things that he said that I thought were really profound was about the transfer of ownership to communities. So not only developing the technology, but then making sure that that ownership transfer happens so that those folks were ultimately empowered and had agency, right? I think that's one of the really big themes overall with BioSummit over the years has been about participation and agency. But I think how Manu manifests that and does that in his work and with all of these communities around the world is so profound and really inspiring. Somebody put in the chat, I remember this notion of ancestral technology when Manu was talking about the paperfuge, which I thought was a really beautiful connection as well to Margarita's talk later about guardianship of ecosystems. And, you know, this is a theme that I know for myself, I've been thinking a lot about, this idea of kind of ancient technologies and modern or future technologies, and how do we ultimately harmonize those things? And I think, Manu's work in some ways is that, he's figured out how to connect and borrow from the very, kind of latest things that we have and marry it with really, really kind of older knowledge that is still just as powerful as ever. And then we had, again, that set of sessions and talks on safety, security, and ethics, which again, I thought was amazing and all about community empowerment, us leading and deciding and really shaping for ourselves and assuming that responsibility and that leadership role and deciding how are we going to keep ourselves safe and secure. So that was really wonderful. In Margarita's talk, there were a couple of lines that she said that I thought, again, got a lot of reaction in the chat, that we are not small island nations, but large ocean nations. That was one that I thought a lot of people reacted to, which was really powerful. She said also, conservation doesn't exist. It's about a reciprocal relationship with nature, which I thought was also amazing. And then maybe one of the highlights was the question that she posed, which I think we should all ponder, and I will continue to ponder, I think, for I don't even know how long, is the question of what kind of ancestors do we want to be? What kind of ancestors do we want to be? That one's going to stay with me for a while. And so that whole arc of the morning I thought was sensational. And then of course the entire panel that Carolyn led on bioart and design, not size, fantastic presentation. I was saying as well too, I forget what room I was in, but each of those graphics that she created, like the very opening graphic, I remember people were like kind of freaking out, like somebody has to take a picture of this. There were at least 3 or 4 in her presentation that were just these incredible visual syntheses of very complex concepts, but that she had mapped them in this visual way where, I don't know, it was so unique and so creative. And, I feel like, again, I need like some time just to stare at each one of those slides just to kind of really grasp and understand the layers of concepts that she had there. But again, really helping us reframe and think about design, which was incredibly powerful. And the whole afternoon I thought was amazing. I popped in a few different things. One quote from Thelma that I loved was, we don't need perfect eco-friendly people. We need many imperfect eco-friendly hearts, which somebody needs to make a t-shirt out of, because I thought that was so beautiful. By the way, as you all are going through these various sessions, I've just been doing this ad hoc, but we should all collectively do this. Like, just grab the phrases and the things that hit you. And we can even create a channel for this. Somebody can make a channel on the Slack for this. I don't know what we want to call it. If it's like, whatever, awesome things people said, or insights, I don't know, we could call it that. But it would be a great place to deposit these so that we can all sort of see what else other people are saying. Because, again, each one of us can only see a tiny fraction of what's actually happening. So it'd be great to, if somebody wants to spearhead trying to create a channel like that, I think that might be neat, and we can deposit some of these. But yeah, I thought those were just some overall observations that I had. And, I think the biggest thread that's still trying to connect, that I'm mentally connecting from yesterday all the way to today, is this question about the future and what kind of systems are we going to build? Because what we have right now doesn't work. And we really need to pivot. And I think what we've been seeing over the past 2 days are examples and signposts of where we could go, which for me has been so inspiring to see. And, I feel so much hope knowing that all of us are in this together, that we are really flexing that muscle of agency and participation every single day. Every session that you're participating in and all the conversations you're having are a part of that exercise of flexing our participation muscle. And that's what democracy is about too. And, if you think about what's happening in the world right now, what we need is this whole process, this whole activity of us flexing that muscle, working together, thinking through these tough problems, having these hard conversations. This needs to happen at scale, right? This is one global community that has significant reach and power. And by the way, this also goes back to Marshall's comments yesterday about leadership. Each one of you that is here right now, you are all leaders in your communities. Every single one of you has people that look up to you and are wondering at all scales what is happening. Even our high school students, right? There are young people looking up at our high school students saying, what are the GIY Bio Buddies doing, right? All of us have people that look up to us, and we all are leaders in our own ways. So I bring us back about Marshall's definition of leadership, which is enabling others to achieve shared purpose in times of uncertainty, right? Each one of those aspects of that definition of leadership is critical. It's enabling others. It's not about you and how awesome you are. It's about creating conditions for others to enable the larger shared purpose in times of uncertainty which is right now. So anyways, y'all, those are some freestyle thoughts on the past 2 days, but it's been amazing. I like you all, am overwhelmed, oversaturated, but I think it's a perfect segue and lead in, I think, to what we can all do right now, which is have a moment of meditation, have a moment of reflection on all that we have absorbed. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carolyn and Jennifer.